always, bear with me. You guys know the drill by now. I want some attention. I need at least 5 viewers to make this worth my time. Only 5. And I will get there. So let me copy link. Where to send it? Where to send it? We got some people joining right now. Bear with. Just sending this out a couple places. Let's send one here. Let's see, where else do we want to do it? There. At least one more spot. Let's do it here. And then let's see. Might as well try it here. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Thanks for bearing with me. The summer sausage, I've literally had about 3/4 of it. It's delicious. Thank you, Rich Hochschild. A plus. You're a good man. Thanks for sending the sausage. The sharp cheddar, perfect. Let's go ahead and jump in here. Let's see, what is it? Week 13 is probably the last week of the regular season before hopefully you guys get into the playoffs. Clay at not Duck Hodges at Twitter. Follow me at goingfor2.com. And this week, let's see, I've highlighted like 5. Okay, I've highlighted more than I thought. 6 games, but I'll probably take a different approach this week just because I think from a DFS perspective, it's clear like the chalk what will play, what you should play, I guess, for cash games. And so we'll go through that and then maybe just how to pivot off of it, because usually like when these types of slates come up, I'm usually all on board and I think the lineups make themselves. But here this week, I'm not comfortable with where all the ownership's going to go with the most popular players. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. But let's also get in questions for season-long leagues or dynasty leagues, whatever, because like I said, I think this is the last week of the regular season for most people. So if you're on the cusp there, any advice or any questions, let's get that rolling. But let's go ahead and jump into like the most popular build for like DraftKings. Well, quarterback, I think that's going to be spread out, so there's nothing to target there. But running back, you'll have, let's just go with the probably like the top 5. Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook at the top at like 9,000 or more. Then you have Montgomery and Devontae Booker at 5,500, and then Gaskin at 5,900, and feel the ball. Oh, yeah, AJ just said something about Gaskin. We'll get there, but I think those are. Actually, I'll take Gaskin off, but Booker and Montgomery, those are the 4. And then wide receiver is going to be Brandon Cook and Kiki Kute. And then tight end will be Anthony Ferkster. And then at defense, probably like Seattle was 3,300, and I think right above and below is some good plays as well. So I think that's kind of what I think the chalk lineup will be. So you're going to have like a Cook or a Henry, and then one of the cheap ones with Montgomery or Booker, and then you're going to have like Kute and Ferkser, and that gives you plenty of money to pay up elsewhere. You still get a good quarterback, and there's cheap quarterbacks to play too. You could play Carr, Fitzgerald, or Fitzpatrick if he's starting, which I think he is. Matt Ryan's even cheap. I kind of like him. So some plays there, but that's how I think the landscape for DraftKings and cash will play out, and you'll see a lot of that bleed over into the tournaments. And so to me, we'll kind of go through this and where to maybe pivot or things to consider, because I'm not comfortable specific. I think they're all fine, but I'm really not comfortable with Kute. Montgomery sucks most of the time. He doesn't have that high ceiling. He doesn't just ever go off. Booker's sucked for a long time. Henry and Cook both. You could both argue Dalvin is hurt-ish. He's going to play, but he could get spelled. I heard Madison's out, which maybe raises his floor, but if they get up, maybe they sit him out because they're still in the playoff hunt. You don't need to run Dalvin into the ground. And then Henry doesn't catch passes, and he's up there. So if he doesn't get like 130 and a touchdown, he probably doesn't pay off his salary. So things to consider there. And we'll go into some games and maybe some ways to flex off that. And people are actually chatting right now, so I'm going to look at the questions and we'll get back into it. I'm taking a stance. J-Rob, full rating. Yeah, I hear you, Yeti. James Robinson. We'll get into that. Sean sent me. God, Sean's going. So someone in the ESPN leagues is keeping. Oh, Tua time tomorrow. Thanks, Rich. Okay, so that helps me. It looks like some guy's keeping Taysom at tight end and playing two people on bye. Hopefully, Sean, he's already in the playoffs, and so next week is when it starts for him. So he's just sitting there. But I had Taysom in tight end, and then I think it was the week Josh Allen was on bye, so I don't remember who I had at quarterback. But anyway, had to make a roster move to get Josh Allen back in. So I don't know who this guy has where he can just leave Taysom in. All right, so 10-team PPR, pick 4: Chubb, Hunt, Gibson, Robinson, Booker, Drake. I definitely am playing Chubb, Gibson, Robinson, and then I would actually, I'd play Booker just because he's probably going to get 20 carries and he should get some passing work. So I would sit. Who did I miss there? Hunt and Drake, and that's just I'm just a hater for time splits. They're sharing the ball, and they're the 1Bs, and Drake's not the 1B, but just can't trust him this week. So I'd rather take the guys getting the majority of the work there. And then we'll get into this J-Rob thing here in a minute. And apparently Tua's in. So let's start there then. Let's see. Who did the Dolphins play? I know I highlighted this game. Oh, it's at the top. Bengals at Dolphins. So if apparently the rumor is true that Tua's playing, I don't know where he got that. Let me check that. Because if that's true, Adam Schefter would have tweeted it out. So let's see here. If Adam Schefter, let's see, players out. That didn't help. I don't see that anywhere. But we'll run with that idea that Tua's in. If Tua's playing, then I think Myles Gaskin is one of the great pivots off of Booker and Montgomery. And like I said, not to say I dislike either of them, but Gaskin coming in, I think only Patrick Laird is there to really spell him. And Gaskin was already the workhorse before he got hurt. So Tua against Bengals, they're already like a 10-point favorite. They'll run the ball. They're just trying to build up Tua's confidence by getting wins. They're not really letting him throw the ball. So they're competing for a playoff spot and just milking the clock. They have a great defense, great coaching staff. So they don't really have to do much so far with Tua starting and in this spot. So I would say Tua I think Miles Gas is probably one of the better running back plays. And then there's really no one you want to bring it back with besides I think actually Gaskin defensive for Miami. I know they're expensive on DraftKings, but for a tournament play, no one would be playing them. I think that's a pretty good spot there. And then if somehow Fitzpatrick is playing, if my sources here are wrong, if this is fake news from Richard Hochschild saying two a time, I still like Gaskin, but then it brings in Fitzpatrick and Parker, maybe even Jasecki, but I think they just air it out. Fitzpatrick's not really the type that lets his foot off the gas if he starts airing it out. So I would think two touchdowns or 300 yards, either one or both in the high likely probability. And for DraftKings, or if you're playing fantasy, depending on who else you have, he's probably a top 10 play if he is starting. So something to consider there. But I do think I think Gaskin is like the lock. I'll be playing him over Montgomery and Booker, who I both like, but for like my single entry tournaments or things like that, because um, he just got announced he's playing today, and then this Tua news probably won't come till tomorrow, so it'll really shift. He's not going to be as highly owned. I think like Booker and Montgomery. Booker will probably be one of the highest owned, and Booker will probably be top 5 right there. And so let's see the other game. Another game I wanted to talk about: Browns at Titans. Titans favored by about a touchdown. It's the highest, or at least when I wrote this down, it was the highest game total of the week at 54 points. And I haven't seen any weather concerns for either for any of these games really. So like I said, Derrick Henry's already going to be one of the most popular. This is projected to be one of the highest team totals Titans are supposed to. The Browns are getting back Myles Garrett. I think they're getting back someone else, but they've lost their 2 starting cornerbacks. They've lost a safety. I know the Titans don't really like to force it, push it, but this is just as good of a spot for their passing attack. And so I think another great tournament play off of Derrick Henry, who at $9,000 on DraftKings, obviously your fantasy you're playing him, he's going to hopefully score a touchdown. But I think this passing attack's really good. And like I said, Ferkser is going to be one of the most popular players, the starting tight end now. Tannehill and him makes sense. Tannehill, A.J. Brown and him. I'm just trying to think who you could bring it back with. I guess you could play. I mean, the Browns aren't slouches. Everyone hates Baker. They make fun of the Browns, but they're doing pretty good this year. So maybe if they get the ball first, Chubbs runs it, because the Titans don't have a good defense. You can't see a scenario where the Browns take a lead, or at least it's back and forth or competitive game through the fourth, and the Titans are forced to throw it. So, maybe Chubb as a running back and then bringing it back with like a Tannehill and A.J. Brown or a Ferkser makes a lot of sense, especially if you agree with Vegas and this is going to get to like 54, 55 points. That's something there. I don't know if I can get to any of the passers and the passing attack for the Browns with the value that's on the slate. Hooper's an okay play. Like I said, the Titans are just a horrible defense overall. But I do think they just traded for, I think it's King, who played for the Chargers, good corner, or was a good cornerback. He's kind of fallen off the last year, but in theory he was good. So I'll say he can shut down Landry. So it doesn't give me much hope there. So I'd probably be more cautious there. So if I'm getting away from Derrick Henry, I would probably just say, okay, let's imagine Chubb's the one, same side, just runs the ball, gets 150 yards and a touchdown. And then how do the Titans either keep up or catch up or just trade back and forth? Oh, we got another question. Dobbins versus Dallas, CD versus Baltimore, or Gio versus Miami? Oh, God. Not Lamb, because I think it's Humphrey. Whoever their slot corner is will be on CD, and I'm obviously with Andy Dalton um, throwing him the ball. That's scary. Dobbins coming off COVID was in a three-way timeshare. He looked like he was taking over, but I would probably just wait and see. Geo, it's safety. I'm taking the pussy route here, but Geo is going to get 80% of the touches, whether it's the carries or the catches out of the backfield. Miami's a tough spot, but I think Geo's the safest floor. Dobbins is the highest ceiling. I would just scratch off CD, in my opinion. I think he's the most volatile. Dobbins, if you need to hit the home run. Geo's safe. You said PPR, so Geo's sucked in the last month anyway, but he's still given some points just because he can catch the ball. I know he hasn't done shit, but he's got a floor. He's catching passes and not doing anything with them, but he's not running the ball either. That's just a train wreck. But if you think Dobbins is going to get all the carries, then put your cards on the table and just say, all right, um, damn, Sean, Josh Allen or Justin Herbert this week. I'm actually um, debating that myself in one league, one of my favorite leagues. I have them both, fortunately, and it's tough. It's real tough, to be honest, Sean. I'm not going to try to say I have a lean. I will say Herbert has the better matchup. It's just the fucking problem when you're playing the Patriots is all they try to do is slow the game down as slow as they can. They don't really pass the ball, or if they do, it's for short yardage. Or they run the ball, and they scramble with Cam, and they just take time off the clock. So add that with the fact that the Chargers play down to their opposition, just do stupid stuff. I could see this being just a slow, grinded out game where Herbert really isn't asked to do much. It's just because Cam runs for 5 yards and they hand it off to Harris for 4 yards and they get a first down and it takes like 10 minutes off the clock. I could really that's a likely scenario from this stupid game with the Patriots. So I think Allen, he's Monday night or Tuesday night. I think they're Monday night over their team total right now is 48, and I know the 49ers are banged up. I just think I'm probably going to go Allen, to be honest, just because we don't have to worry about the coaching staff doing something stupid or the opposition just putting it in a turtle shell and not doing much. So that's kind of my lean there. But take it for what you will. Herbert is amazing. So I don't blame anyone for going there. But I'm in that same predicament. So I think I'm probably going to lean Josh. You probably just helped me make my decision thinking through it. Let's go to the Lions versus Bears game. Keep sending in those questions though. Like I said, Montgomery is going to be pretty popular here, and Trubisky is going to be popular too, which is scary. And I played him, I think it was week 1 when these two teams played, and he was like my millionaire maker. By the way, let's take an aside before we get back to this game. Last week, I dropped in the $100 millionaire maker tournament. I think it was like 35,000 total people. I dropped one lineup. I just had this idea that it was Derrick Henry was in a great spot. I think I talked a lot about it last week. And then I did Mahomes and Hill. I also did Kelsey for full disclosure. But that was my core, and I thought, like, this is great. It's going to be low owned. And then from there, I just went into this turtle shell and just played these idiots like Brian Hill. Yeah, I knew he was going to be popular, but I was just like, I've differentiated enough. Like Brian Hill's safe. Played like Andy Isabella. I don't remember who else, but just like these, what I deem safe, cheap people, the chalk. And I mean, I had I had 110 points from 2 players. And I mean, I did all right, but I didn't win the million, obviously. Otherwise, I don't know if I'd be on right now, or I would have bragged about it at the beginning. But it was just crazy. So sorry, I digress. But going back here to the Lions versus Bears, like Trubinsky's going to be popular. I played him week one. He was that's why I was going into this. He was like I played a millionaire maker lineup with him, and I think like Allen Robinson, and that paid off there in garbage time in week one. I just don't know. Like I think everyone's on him this week. He sucked last week, but he still scored a lot of fantasy points because he just did so much in garbage time. The Lions suck. I guess I don't know if Allen Robinson's been officially ruled in or out. That would make a lot of difference to me. I'd probably be more likely to pay Trubinsky if Robinson's in. If not, then I think the one-offs of like Mooney, or I heard he's questionable. So then if it's just like Anthony Miller, maybe I just play him if he's just going to catch a bunch. But I do think you can pivot off this game a little bit too, because I think you're crazy. Well, maybe not, but playing like Trubinsky and Montgomery, that's like the scariest play ever, which is probably why I will be on the Millionaire Maker lineup tomorrow. But like a Trubinsky, yeah, get into Trubinsky or something like that. But everyone will be playing Montgomery. And then like for the Bears, I think the Breen back, probably Hawkinson. I've seen some people say Amendola, but I don't know if I can get there. What does he do besides catch like 3 passes or 4 passes? I don't think he does enough to really get you there. And the Bears have a great cornerback group, weak secondary or weak safety group. So that's why I'm thinking Hawkinson. But maybe you try to play this where they kind of shoot out from the standpoint like Hawkinson to Anthony Miller, something like that. Got another question here. Standard League, Ayuk, Chase, or Shark? I kind of like Shark, but I'm biased because I have a lot of him. Let me look at this matchup for San Fran, the Bills. So Tre'Davious White will be on Deebo Samuel. Ayuk, they're being very creative and creating ways for Deebo and Ayuk. They haven't really been on the field too often together, just with their injuries and whatnot. And I think Ayuk had COVID. It's tough to say, but I'm scratching off Chase Edmonds just from the standpoint I hate timeshares. And with Shark, I like Shark, but Mike Glennon's his QB. I mean, I keep playing him to my detriment. I'm going to play him again, to be honest. I haven't really considered Ayuk, but now you pose that standard. Ayuk, I think, is probably the best play there, just to be honest. Let's see. Where'd we leave off? Oh, yeah. Bears, Lions. And now we got, let's talk about Colts and the Texans. So here, the one thing that I really wanted to talk, I think 2 of the highest owned players will be Brandon Cooks and Kiki Kute, from the standpoint that no one, when DraftKings made their salaries, they didn't know Fuller would be suspended for the rest of the year and 1 game next year. And so they're way cheap, and I can't blame anyone for playing either. I think with Kiki is he played a lot last week because they cut Kenny Stills and Randall Cobb was hurt. And we've seen this for 2 years. Kiki had like 1 or 2 great games like 2 years ago. One was in the playoffs, and I'm guilty as well. I have him in a dynasty league, just hanging on for dear life. But he hasn't really done jack shit except for 1 game. Then everyone fell in love with him, and he played with Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech, so people love him and think he can do all the shit, but he hasn't done it. So I honestly think 95% certain I will not be playing Kiki anywhere, not even in cash. I'm just going to move away from that. I can't see him doing something amazing, and maybe he catches 3 for 35, but his floor is so low. And so I'm monitoring the news. I thought it was a guarantee that Isaiah Coulter, the rookie out of, I think, Rhode Island, who's an outside wide receiver, would be activated off practice squad, and he's just like the direct replacement for Will Fuller. He was going to be like my favorite play, even like single entries, like YOLO doing something stupid. because no one's going to play Isaiah Coulter. But I thought that could be the play. I know they activated a couple people today off the practice squad. He wasn't one of them. So I saw people getting nervous that for whatever reason they might not do it. So monitor. If he's not obviously activated, don't play him, and don't yell at me if you can't play him if he's not activated. But to me, I still love Brandon Cooks, but I think the tournament winner might be Isaiah Coulter, at least in my brain right now. I know a lot of people are talking about Jordan Akins. I can't hate it. I might play him a little bit. It's just tough. He's a tight end. So I think if you're playing Akins, you're assuming Coulter moves to the outside and gets run there, and then Akins kind of gets more over the middle. But I don't think Akins and Coulter can both thrive in the slot or over the middle. So it's interesting that people are just saying, "Oh, Akins is gonna get a lot more playing time." I don't know about that, but who knows? The Colts standpoint, I'm probably not going there. If anything, maybe Jonathan Taylor, but that's just a shot in the dark as well. You don't know. I will say that the Colts gave up a shit ton of running yards last week to Henry, and the reason was because DeForest Buckner and someone else was out from their defense on their defensive line. They're both back. It went from like they gave up 5+ yards a carry when Buckner's out to like under 3 yards under 4 yards a carry. Buckner's back in. I'm not playing David Johnson or Duke, whatever. You had your one shot there. Let's see. We got a couple more here. Austin Hooper or Evan Ingram. Oh shit. Ingram's been coming on a lot lately. I just don't trust Baker to be able to throw the ball when he does. It's just it's spread too thin. I think he has a better matchup, but Ingram's been coming on, and Jamal Adams has been blitzing so much. He's not really covering over the middle. But when Jamal Adams is in coverage, he's usually smothering the tight end. And last year the Jets were like the best defense against tight ends, and Seattle, Jamal Adams has been in and out of lineup, so it's hard to tell, but they're like middle of the pack. So I do think he's still doing a pretty good job. I think it's riskier, but either one, I think you said PPR, so I think you're just looking for him to rack up. Ingram could have a bad game and still get 4 for 40. Austin Hooper's bad game is like 1 for 8 or something like that. Saints offense is making Sean nervous. Standard league, are you playing Landry, Shark, or Michael Pittman over Michael Thomas? Leaning Landry right now. That might change. I don't remember who Landry is up against. I know Kevin King. We talked a little bit about that. So that makes me nervous doing that. It really, if it's to be honest, Sean, if you're doing like especially if you're like vying for a playoff spot, I just play my studs. When it comes to trying to get cute and playing one over the other, I'm just going to lean for the best player. So Michael Thomas, you drafted him in the first round, I'm assuming. Landry, Shark, Pittman. Obviously, you did not draft that high up. I'm just going to rely on my studs and not second guess myself if something goes wrong there, because maybe one does better than Michael Thomas, but which one? Good luck. So you have a 33% chance of getting that right. Nah, I would just take Michael Thomas. He I actually think that's a sneaky good matchup for both sides, with the Saints missing Marcus Davenport and Janoris Jenkins, who's been their best corner this year. I think it gives Matt Ryan more time. He scored, I think that I read today that they score like 7 more points a game when Julio and Ridley are in, which looks to be the case tomorrow. So maybe they get to, even if they get to like 20 points, 25, it forces Taysom to throw a little bit, which scares me. Good night, Rich. But when he does throw, it's going to be to Michael Thomas. I think he's thrown like 50% of his passes to Michael Thomas. So I'm going to go there with that one. Let's see. I got two more games here while the chat's hitting me up. We got Jaguars at Vikings. Oh, here highlight this one because everyone's going to be playing Dalvin Cook, which I can't blame you for. Madison's out. They're saying they might have to lighten his workload for Cook, but I don't know who they would do. And then when they do it, it'd probably be because he already scored. I honestly don't know if I prefer him or Henry or neither. Kind of like my instant reaction right now is just to bury my head in the sand, say neither, and hope they just do okay. One does bad and one does just okay, and then I can live with some of the other plays. Um, but Cook is definitely in the best matchup. Jaguars just suck all over, which you could then play. I think Thielen's in for sure. Irv's out. So you got Thielen, Jefferson, Rudolph. Probably won't play Rudolph. Thielen, Jefferson, maybe. It's tough. And then some people have been bringing up Shark here. I guess if for tournaments, if I'm going to consider Cook, I'm probably bringing it back with Shark or assuming some sort of shootout and then like a Shark Jefferson or someone up top. I said I'd get to this. This is why someone asked me about James Robinson. The Vikings are they're middle of the pack. It doesn't scare me, and I have James Robinson like all over like season long fantasy, and I'm playing him everywhere. But like DFS, I've been like spotty on whether I'm playing him. Right now, he's in my pool. Tough to say. I think it's more just going along the lines of I think this game right now the game totals at 52, which is a lot. If it's not Cook, then it goes through the air. Maybe it's because James Robinson scores early. Like the Jags are bad, but they're not like an embarrassment like the Jets. I know they only have one win, but to me, I think they're purposely trying to not win because if you start at the beginning of the season and someone told you if you win one game, what do you think you're picking? Most people would say, "Oh, we get the number one pick. We're getting Trevor Lawrence. The Jaguars are fine with only having one win." They didn't realize the Jets were going to Jets. So now I think they're actively trying to lose because they're like, "Oh shit, we might not have our chance at this generational quarterback." In my opinion, and to be honest, I don't know Justin Fields well enough to say if he's good or not. It's like kind of when I think it was Luck and RG3 came out. They both did well the first year, and then RG3 got hurt and injuries kind of took a toll. And then Luck was the generational quarterback until he just retired randomly after getting beat up too much. But I think the Jaguars are actively trying to lose. But I think you can't stop the players from actually competing. So I can see them from like James Robinson doing good here, especially early on. Maybe Minnesota has to open up a little bit more. Doesn't mean Dalvin can't do it. I just don't like playing running backs from the same team. But it's another way to consider this game. So, like I said, these chalk plays, I really think there are pivots within the game for all of them. And that brings us to the last one here. And then if anyone has any more start-sit questions for for season long, hit me up. The last one is the Raiders at the Jets. Everyone's gonna play Devontae Booker. I can't blame you. I will be playing him. I just don't know how much. But it's a good spot. The Raiders suck so much. It's good weather in New York tomorrow, apparently. Everyone's pissed off at Carr last week when he got embarrassed at the Falcons when they thought he'd be doing well. But Carr to Waller, I think, is a good pivot. I don't know if Aguilar's in yet. That could be one. But I do think, like, for the Jets, Mims and Perryman make a lot of sense because they've just been getting such tremendous run, and the Raiders are bad at their secondary. So I could see one of them. I don't know which one. One of them going off. It could probably be Crowder. I'm not playing Crowder, so it'll probably be him, to be honest. So play him if you want. But I think it's the deep threat guys, and they're really getting Mims a lot of run. So I think they're going to just keep trying that. And then maybe towards the end, they just give it away. But a decent total at like 48 points. The Raiders are favored by 8. So, it doesn't mean that it can't come through the air for the Raiders. Maybe Ruggs if Aguilar's out, Renfro, I don't know. But to me, I do think Carr's in play with one of his pass catchers and then bring it back with like a Mims. So kind of wrap this all up in a bow. We have Booker chalk. You can definitely go to the air game there. You have Dalvin Cook potential chalk. I think you can go to the run game for the other side, the pass game for the Vikings. Texans, you have Kute and Cooks. I think you can go for another receiver there. And then Bears, Lions, God help me, but Trubisky maybe. I don't think you have to go Montgomery. Titans, Browns. Everyone's going to be playing Derrick Henry. That I think it's just a good spot for Tannehill and Ferkser. And then Dolphins, Bengals. With the fake news that came out that maybe Tua's playing, then Gaskins did the play there, but if Fitz is in, that's a good passing game. So those are kind of like, I think, my good pivots there. I don't know which is which, and I just hate it on like the 6 most popular players. I'd be honest, probably 4 are going to be just fine, but you kind of play those one-offs. If you're playing the Millionaire Maker or a large field GPP, you need to have like every single piece hit. You're not, one of these is going to fail badly and it's just going to crush like 25% of the lineup. So that's more art than science, and which ones I'll be mixing and matching. To be honest, the only one I've probably taken a hard stance on right now is Kute. I just don't think he can get there, but the other ones I do think are in good spots. I'm trying to still haven't figured out between Henry and Cook. Probably only play one. It'd be smart if I only play one. I've been telling myself all week, don't fade Henry after a big game, because that's typically what I've done, typically what most people do. And Henry, the last 2 years in the cold months, just keeps doing it. Like, he's a second half, whether it's in the game or the second half of the season environment, he just kills it. So, rambling way of saying, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do there with the chalk. But Sean has some questions here. Full point PPR: Jamison, Crowder, Tim Patrick, or Alan Lazard. That's a good one. Not Tim Patrick. When do they play anyway? Where are the Broncos? They got to be Monday night, right? Or is it Tuesday night? When are the Broncos? Oh, Sunday night versus the Chiefs. Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, I'm not playing Tim Patrick. I think Crowder has the lower floor, or the higher floor, like safety. Because I think Jameson will at least get 4 catches. And I think you said PPR. No guarantee Allen gets any, but I think Allen has the higher ceiling with. I don't even know if Darius Slay is playing, but even if he is, he's going to be on Adams, which could open up more for Lazard. But this is a good environment for the Packers, in my opinion. So I would probably lean Lazard. I like the ceiling. I always try to do ceiling more than floor, so I would go Lazard, then Crowder, and I wouldn't worry about Tim Patrick. And then last question: full point PPR. Have Diggs. Who are you playing at 2? Kupp or Hopkins? Yeah, Hopkins has had a tough 4 games. I agree with that, and he's playing. God, this is actually a tough question. He's playing. He's got the shadow matchup against Jalen Ramsey. That's a tough one. Obviously, I always lean like a superior wide receiver can beat the superior cornerback if he's getting the targets. It's just sometimes the QB just won't throw him the ball, which is half the battle. You need the targets before you can even get the catches, and sometimes. And Kyler could be one of them, just saying, I'm not going to throw that way. They have weapons on the other side, and theoretically his legs if he's healthy. So I can see why you're asking that. Like I said, if you're playing seasonal, I'm just playing Hopkins. I'm not even thinking about it, so I'm not kicking myself. You're right. Play Diggs. do you not have a flex? Like, I don't understand how you can't play them all, because Cooper is in a great spot, to be honest. I'm not going to lie here. I have nothing bad to say about Cooper Kupp. On the flip side of that game, it's a decent total, like 49 points. Patrick Peterson's not that great anyway, but he's going to be on Woods. And so Kupp over the middle. I've read some stats that say Kupp. I think the Cardinals play cover one at one of the highest percentages in the league, and Kupp has his best games against cover one defenses. So I think Kupp stands out, but like if you just say Cooper Kupp versus Hopkins, every time you're playing Hopkins, it's just the matchup's a little bit different. I guess it's just how much. Okay, here. Oh, you came back. You have Henry, James Robb, and Austin Eckler at flex. So yeah, you're in a tough spot. I guess it's a good problem to have. I think you're in the playoffs no matter what. I'm guessing, Sean. If these are the problems you're having, sending me. Yeah, because you're playing them. God, you got Henry, Robinson, Eckler. Those are top 10 running backs. I'm going with the potential top 3 receiver in Hopkins from that standpoint, because he has the potential. And I know he sucked and Kyler could be hurt. And maybe if you get some info tonight from like Schefter that Kyler's limited or something, that's the only thing that gives me pause. But to be honest, I'm just going to play one of the best wide receivers in the game in the last like 5 years, to be honest. No hate against Kupp, but that's kind of where I'm going. Yeah, I would just play Hopkins and just forget about it. You're probably going to win regardless if that's your running back stable. Let's see if anyone else has any questions. I'm just peeking through some of these other games. Like I said, I think the chalk just built itself this week. Cash, you can kind of just flow with that and then just pivot off of it, but it's tough. Like I don't get the warm and fuzzies about all of them. I think some of them are going to be just fine. And so let's say, Sean said he's in second place, should win. Yeah. So yeah, you should be getting the bye. I don't know how your team's or your league's set up, but if you're in second, hopefully you're getting that bye. You're probably good to go. You can take a week off next week. You should probably win this week with those guys. Yeah. Yeah. From DFS, I don't know. I just haven't solidified it yet. I'm waiting maybe I'm waiting maybe a couple more injuries or something come in to help force my hand. There's no weather that's going to really push me one way or the other. It's, to me, a tough week in the sense I'm just not comfortable with the chalk. And I don't know. Somehow I get a good feel for this just randomly. And in my gut, I'm just saying if I make a tournament lineup with Henry or Cook, Montgomery, Booker, Ferkser, Kute, like Seattle defense. I have like 2 or 3 spots left. I just don't think I might cash, but I don't think I'm doing well in tournaments. I think you're maybe minimum cashing there. It's just not worth it to me. So I'll just leave it at that. But good luck to everyone, especially season-long leagues. I know we're getting to the last of the weeks before playoff starts. Once again, my name's Clay Hodges. Follow me on Twitter at NotDuckHodges, goingfor2.com. Good luck, DFS Fantasy Football. Thanks for joining, and I will see you next week.